In just 3 NFL seasons, running back Darius Jackson has already left the Dallas Cowboys twice and spent time with 2 other teams. Now on his 3rd stint with Dallas, could 2019 finally be the year that Jackson emerges as the team's primary backup to Ezekiel Elliott? Remember, Jackson was part of that great 2016 draft class that yielded Zeke, Dak Prescott, Jaylon Smith, Maliek Collins, Anthony Brown, and Kavon Frazier. The Cowboys thought enough of Darius to keep him on their 53-man roster most of that rookie year, though never active for a game. He was eventually released in December to make room for Darren McFadden. Though Dallas likely hoped to get Jackson to their practice squad, the Cleveland Browns swooped in and claimed Jackson off waivers. He was never active for them, either, and missed all of 2017 after Cleveland put him on injured reserve during the offseason. Last year, after Cleveland waived Darius during the offseason, the Cowboys quickly signed him back to their roster. Didn't make it past final cuts and was put on the 2018 practice squad. The Green Bay Packers poached Jackson immediately, but he was only with them for a month to fill in while they dealt with RB injuries and a suspension. They cut him in early October, and Dallas signed him back to their practice squad after he cleared waivers. So yes, the Cowboys clearly still have interest in their former 6th-round pick. But will 2019 finally be the year that Darius Jackson get a significant role on the team, or will a rookie from the upcoming draft push him back down the depth chart? Dallas Cowboys RB Darius Jackson, photo by Tom Pennington, Getty Images. Rod Smith has been the backup running back for 2 years now, but he remains a free agent after Dallas didn't re-sign him following an expired contract. They could still make that move, but it feels like they're ready to add more explosiveness and potential behind Elliott. Darius Jackson has displayed the ability to explode when running the ball. He has great speed when he makes his cut and can pick up a lot of yards quickly with good blocking. That's the right kind of player for this Cowboys offense with its exceptional offensive line. But Darius was only a 6th-round pick in 2016 because of being ran his overall game. He's not known for great blocking or receiving skills. If Jackson wants to be RB2 this season, he's going to have to develop his game over the last 3 years. Even though Dallas has their franchise back in Elliott, their overall roster strength grants the luxury to spend a high draft pick on his backup if they choose to. If Dallas spend any early or mid-round pick at RB, that player will assumably trump Jackson. That said, the Cowboys typically like to cover themselves before the draft. Added players like George Iloka and Christian Covington in free agency so that safety and defensive tackle, respectively, didn't feel like such gaping holes. The fact that they haven't made an RB signings, even bringing back Rod Smith, could mean that they have some confidence in Darius. Many Cowboys will be watching the draft with intrigue, wondering how selections at their position will affect their job security. Right now, Darius Jackson is the 2nd-best running back on the Cowboys roster. But could that change in just a couple of weeks? 2019 offseason Darius Jackson running back to pay Ezekiel Elliott or not to pay Ezekiel Elliott? That is the question that has been raging throughout Cowboys Nation for the last few months as we've debated how much each of the notable players should get paid in their respective contract extensions. Generally, it's not considered a good idea to offer running backs a second contract because of the decline that happens around age 27. It's the reason that the Dallas Cowboys opted not to extend a competitive offer to DeMarco Murray when he was a free agent after he led the NFL in rushing in 2014. Ezekiel Elliott, though playing the same position as Murray, is a different case for the Cowboys. Elliott is one of the leaders on the team on and off the field. His running style helps set the tone for a team that wants to be a physical football team in the trenches, and his ability to run for big gains takes a lot of pressure off of the passing attack for big plays. This is why many fans are clamoring for Elliott to see his payday when he gets closer to the end of his rookie contract. if the Cowboys want to keep him, and that really is going to be the question, there are two contracts they should look at to structure his long-term extension: Cowboys defensive end DeMarcus Lawrence and Los Angeles Rams running back Todd Gurley. DeMarcus Lawrence got his payday last week in a 5-year $105 million contract. His contract will pay out his guarantees over the first 3 years of the deal, which will get Lawrence through his age 30 season. If for some reason there's a decline in his play or his back doesn't hold up to the wear and tear of the NFL season, the Cowboys will have outs after the 2020 season. The only dead money they would add would be in his prorated signing bonus, which is $5 million a year over the final 3 seasons. The way the Los Angeles Rams paid Todd Gurley was really smart. After drafting him as a rookie in the first round, the Rams could have picked up his 5th-year option for the 2019 season and then looked to negotiate a contract this offseason to extend him. The problem is they would have pushed guaranteed money closer to his age 30 season, which would leave them with problems had Gurley suffered the dreaded age 27 running back decline. Instead, the Rams opted to sign Gurley to an extension which took up the final year and the option year of his rookie contract and then bought up the prime years of his career from age 26 to 29 through the 2023 season. The way the Rams structured the contract, they won't have any more guaranteed money to pay out to Gurley after the 2020 season. If they wanted to move on from Gurley in 2021, they could save $8.4 million and only have $4.2 million in dead money in 2021 and 2022 from his prorated signing bonus. $4.2 million by the time we get to the 2021 season won't be as much as it would be on the 2019 cap. The Rams will only have to worry about Gurley staying productive for 2 more seasons before they can get out of his deal. The Rams could essentially opt out of his deal after his age 27 season, only having the $4.2 million in dead money over the final 2 years of the deal to the 2023 season. The Dallas Cowboys could use both of these contracts to take a similar approach to paying Ezekiel Elliott. Right now, Elliott is heading into the 4th year of his rookie deal, which is the same point that Gurley was at when he received his extension from the Rams. If the Cowboys wanted to, they could get Elliott extended now, which would take care of the last year of his rookie deal and the option year from being a first-round draft pick. By doing this, they could have him under control through his prime years and not have to pay him any money going into his 30s. Let's use the contract projection from KD Drummond if the Cowboys wire as our example. Drummond estimates that an extension from the Cowboys could come in a 6-year deal for $75.5 million with $48.25 million guaranteed, which includes the final year of his rookie deal. According to his projection, Elliott would get a $22.5 million signing bonus, which would figure at $4.5 million over the first 5 years of the deal, with no guaranteed money in year 6 of the contract. KD's projection would have Elliott locked up through 2024, Elliott's age 29 season, and would keep the Cowboys from carrying any risk of a decline from Elliott into his 30s. If the Cowboys front-loaded his guarantees similarly to DeMarcus Lawrence, they'd only be hit with the base salary and the prorated signing bonus on the cap. If they moved on from Elliott after the guaranteed money was out, they'd only be hit with the prorated signing bonus as dead money through the 2023 season. They'd only be at risk until Elliott was 28 years old. We know the player that Ezekiel Elliott is. He's the 2-time NFL rushing champion and he's averaged right around 2,000 total yards when he's played at least 15 games. There's no reason to expect that Elliott won't continue to run at his league-leading clip. As the passing game improves, hopefully, the wear and tear of Elliott should decrease as he's relied upon for 25 touches a game less. Ezekiel Elliott's one of the best running backs in the NFL and deserves to be paid like one when the time comes. The Dallas Cowboys front office plans to pay Elliott. The time to do so is now, so they aren't having to pay him into his 30s. Elliott's been a very durable player and could potentially be an effective player into his 30s like Frank Gore. With the amount of work he's gotten in his first 3 seasons in the league, the Cowboys would be wise to reduce their risk as Elliott leaves the prime of his career. When it comes to the offseason and the Dallas Cowboys, it doesn't really stop. It's one thing after another. Free agent signings, trades, draft rumors, and contract extensions. Less than a week after getting DeMarcus Lawrence signed to a 5-year $105 million deal, the front office sets its sights on quarterback Dak Prescott. This week Stephen Jones spoke to ESPN 103.3 FM in Dallas and was asked about the negotiations. Jones, who hasn't shied away from talking about the team's intentions in public, stated that any deal that the Dallas Cowboys do with their franchise quarterback would have to be team-friendly. This is a notion that has been expressed by major media in Dallas this offseason, as many would argue that Dak Prescott isn't worth the projected $27 minus $30 million he is set to receive. The problem is, when you look at the quarterbacks in that range around the NFL, it's hard to argue against him not being worth that money. There are currently 4 quarterbacks making an average of $27 minus $30 million per year on contracts signed within the last 3 off-seasons: Matt Ryan, Kirk Cousins, Matthew Stafford, and Jimmy Garoppolo. In the spring of 2018, Matt Ryan signed a 5-year $130 million deal with $94.5 million fully guaranteed. That same offseason, Kirk Cousins signed a 3-year $84 million contract with 100% of the $84 million fully guaranteed. Back in 2017, Matthew Stafford signed for 5 years and $135 million. The most important contract to look at in Dak's negotiations is San Francisco 49ers quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo. Per Adam Schefter of ESPN, Garoppolo signed a 5-year $137.5 million contract with $74.1 million fully guaranteed. The reason this contract stands out more than the others is because Jimmy Garoppolo hasn't really done anything in the NFL. The 49ers signed him to that lucrative deal with only 10 NFL starts in his career. I believe Dak Prescott has an argument to be paid more than Garoppolo. Dak Prescott is sitting at 48 NFL regular season starts and 3 playoff starts in his career. With Prescott at the helm, the Dallas Cowboys are 32-16 in the regular season and 1-2 in the playoffs, with Dak playing pretty well in the 2 losses, most recently bringing them back in the second half against the Los Angeles Rams and putting them in a position to have a chance at the end of the game. Again, Garoppolo has only 10 NFL starts. In 3 games in 2018, he threw for an average of 239 yards per game to go along with 5 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. He only completed 59.5% of his passes, and the 49ers went 1-2 in those games. There is zero way to argue that Dak Prescott hasn't been as good of a quarterback or better than Jimmy Garoppolo in his 3-year NFL career. Dak Prescott's 48 starts have had some ups and downs, but there's been far more good than bad for the young signal caller. In looking at them statistically, Garoppolo has thrown 2.125 touchdowns per interception, while Prescott has thrown 2.68 touchdowns per interception. This doesn't even include the 18 touchdowns that Prescott has rushed for in his career. In San Francisco, Garoppolo has thrown 1.5 touchdowns per interception. In yardage, Garoppolo is averaging 253 yards a game in his 2 years in San Francisco. Prescott is only averaging 226 passing yards per game, but also averages 19 rushing yards a game, bringing his total yardage total to 245 per game. Garoppolo only rushes for 4.9 yards per game, not really a part of his play. As the salary cap continues to go up and the quarterback contracts continue to rise, Prescott is a player who is going to get paid a big bag of money, despite what Stephen Jones has said. While Prescott's obviously accomplished more in the league than Jimmy Garoppolo, one could make the argument that he's accomplished more than Kirk Cousins as well. Sure, Cousins has thrown for some big numbers in his time as a starter, but as a starter, he's never led a team to the postseason. The 2015 Washington Redskins had the best record of any team he's been a part of at 9-7. The Minnesota Vikings reached the NFC Championship game with Case Keenum at quarterback and barely managed an above .500 record with Cousins at quarterback, going 8-7-1 in 2018. His first season as a starter in Minnesota is generally seen as a disappointment, though he threw for 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns. Cousins and Garoppolo may look better as passers, but they haven't accomplished as much as a quarterback in the NFL as Dak Prescott has. When you factor in the intangibles, toughness, leadership, running ability, resiliency, perseverance, that Prescott brings to the table, it's easy to see why he's about to be, at least, a $28 million quarterback. This play is the reason that the Cowboys are about to make Dak Prescott one of the highest-paid quarterbacks in the NFL. 3rd and 14, only up 3 and they called the quarterback draw. Prescott nearly takes the ball in for the score before being tripped up, but he makes All-Pro linebacker Bobby Wagner miss a tackle here on his way to picking up the crucial first down that helped seal the victory. Sure, the coaching staff was being a bit conservative, but it was an excellent play call, and in the most crucial time of the game, they gave one of their best players a chance to make a play. More often than not, Prescott has put the Dallas Cowboys in a position to win football games. His play in the second half of the playoff games against the Seattle Seahawks and Los Angeles Rams are what Dak Prescott is about. He doesn't let a bad snap, bad drive, or bad half get to him. He almost always finds a way to put the team in a position at the end of the game. Anything out of the Dallas Cowboys front office about Dak Prescott negotiations needs to be seen as negotiation tactics. The Cowboys plan on paying him. When you find a franchise quarterback, you pay them. Good negotiators never let on how much they are willing to pay for a product or a service. Stephen Jones isn't going to come out into the media and proclaim they're willing to give Dak Prescott $27 million, because then Doc can up his asking price. That's how negotiations work. Franchise quarterbacks in the NFL get paid a lot of money, and Dak Prescott is a franchise quarterback. At the end of this, both the team and Prescott will come to an agreement that will pay Dak Prescott stacks on stacks on stacks of money over the next 5 to 6 years as the face of America's team. And the front office will watch Dak Prescott help the Cowboys stack wins on wins on wins. The list of injured Dallas Cowboys players getting surgery keeps getting larger. DeMarcus Lawrence and Byron Jones will welcome Maliek Collins to the surgery recovery group chat after Collins had a procedure to repair a torn rotator cuff. According to the report from Fort Worth Star-Telegram, Collins suffered the injury at the end of the 2018 season. Maliek Collins expects to be ready for training camp, but don't expect much from him in the upcoming off-season program. For Collins, this is a very meaningful season. At 25 years old, he's heading into a contract year in 2019. So far, his career has been decent at best. He began playing at guard, where he showed some pretty impressive flashes before moving to right tackle, where he's started since 2017. Even before it was reported that he would have surgery, many in Cowboys Nation have wondered about his future. The truth is, since he signed as an undrafted free agent in 2015, his career hasn't lived up to the hype. Prior to the 2015 NFL Draft, an off-the-field misunderstanding made every team pass on him. However, he was seen by many as a top prospect in the class and was a projected first-round pick. Although he improved when Mark Colombo took over as the OL coach, Collins has struggled during his time at right tackle. At this point, he hasn't earned a long-term deal. Right now, the Cowboys should see offensive tackle as a need in the NFL Draft. Not a priority one, but definitely one to watch out for in the later rounds. Jaylon Smith is 28 years old, but his injury history doesn't look promising at all. I can definitely see this team addressing the lack of depth at the position at some point in day 3. This whole discussion raises yet another question. Would the Cowboys trade Maliek Collins? I don't think it would happen, but it doesn't sound like a terrible idea either. At the moment, Cameron Fleming is on the roster and he isn't a bad starter. Now granted, he might be a downgrade from Collins. However, if you're able to get a good draft pick in exchange, it's worth considering. Use Fleming as a bridge player for a younger one down the line. Connor Williams could also move over to tackle, although I doubt they want to try experiments like this with a young player just like they did with Maliek Collins. Let Williams grow as a guard and keep him there. Maliek Collins or not, the Cowboys have a need at offensive tackle and Collins makes it even more evident. The good news is he expects to be back by training camp and doesn't seem like a huge question mark for Week 1 as DeMarcus Lawrence and Byron Jones do.